Hey guys, I'm Christian and welcome back to PN Wreckage. As I film this, I just crested 54,000 miles. I want to cover today what's happened since my 30,000 mile update, which was posted about a year ago. About 11 months ago, actually, the time of this filming. If you've seen that video, you'll know I have primarily positive things to say about this truck. There have been a couple of minor issues, and as far as issues go, between filming that and filming this, there has only been one additional issue that popped up. So in that video, I talked about, I think it was 3 issues, where number 1, I had a poor seal on my transmission hand, which resulted in sort of the whole undercarriage of my truck being covered in delightful red ATF, and that was fixed under warranty. There was apparently a batch of trucks that had a bad seal on the transmission pan. There were also apparently a batch of trucks that had a bad seal on their oil pan, and I have not seen anything like that. I don't have any oil, like any leaks or no spots in my driveway, nothing like that. So this, going in, getting my transmission seal replaced has resolved that issue. The second thing was that numbers were disappearing from the quick shortcuts on my head unit, and that was actually fixed with an upgrade that I was able to do myself with a USB drive that's downloaded from, I think, the Chrysler website or the FCA website. So that resolved that. That has not been an issue. And then finally, we have my backup camera, which sort of looks like the naughty channels when you're trying to find them, like the scrambled ones on cable. That is what my backup camera sometimes looks like. And that popped up like a couple thousand miles, I think, before that video, and it's just never gotten bad enough for me to take it in and have it fixed. I think it's part of it. I think it's temperature dependent. Like if it's in the sun, if my tailgate is facing the sun for an extended period of time, I feel like that sort of exacerbates that problem. However, it's like I get out and I can just hit it with my fist and it fixes it. So it hasn't motivated me enough to get it resolved, and I didn't get it taken care of under warranty, so that's my bad. Okay, so those were the major issues that I experienced. There were also 2 recalls. One of them was for water pump, which could result in engine fire. So I had that taken care of under warranty. And then the other was for column-mounted shifter trucks. There was an issue where your truck could apparently get knocked into gear without having to depress the brake. So I don't have any children I leave in my car, nor would I if I did have children. But that was never really a priority, so I've actually not gotten that part fixed. I've played around with it. I've tried to replicate what they talk about like in the recall, and I haven't been able to do it. So I did not get that taken care of, and I know I still can, probably still should, but I have not. Okay, so those are the issues from the last video. Let's talk about issues since then. I was looking for a little bit of an upgrade to my stock speakers, at least the 6x9s in the rear doors. And the reason that I chose the rear doors is because the 6x9s in the front doors really just handle like mids and bass, and then you get all of your vocals from the dash mounted speakers. So I wanted to just give it a go, and so I bought an Infinity, I think it's reference series. No, it's not. It's like the factory replacement Infinities. I'll leave a link in the description, or I'll put like a picture here. There we go. It's been a while. Sorry, I'm kind of rusty. Oh, these are the speakers that I put in, and I put the passenger, or my driver's side rear door first. Really pretty easy to take the door panels off. So I did that one first. Probably took me 25 minutes, and then I did my passenger side 1 second. And as soon as I plugged it in, I checked it to make sure it worked before I put it back together, and I'm glad I did, because it did not work. So I had a multimeter. I checked it. I checked the signal, and I could see that it was sort of this like very faint and intermittent signal. So it wasn't just open, or it wasn't just dead. And I don't know about you, but electricity is basically like magic to me. It's just not an area of the mechanical world or like the automotive world that I know anything about. Try as I might to learn about it, I have not been able to. And so that is something where I will seek professional help, or at least like within my circle of friends. So I have 2 buddies who go by the last name Fog, and I realize actually I am coincidentally wearing a beanie from one of their shops. But I went to my buddy's place and had him take a look at it, and he's like, hey, you know, I got bad news, man. I think your amp is dead on that channel. And I was like, okay. The amp is located right about where my left foot is, right above where my left foot is right now. And we pulled the harness off the back of the amp, and I believe it was actually on the male plug. Oh man, I left work a little early today because it is supposed to get nasty as far as like snow. And the town I live in, every time when we moved in, everybody said, no, Christian, listen, like we live in this little valley, this little like pocket of warm air. It never snows here. It has snowed every year since I moved in, and like the people around me, like, you know, where I work, don't even believe it because, you know, nowhere else in the general vicinity has any kind of a snow issue. But here we find ourselves. Anyway, the sky's looking pretty angry. So that's just a quick aside. Anyway, the male side of the harness plug, we found that the wire that ran, or one of the wires that ran to that speaker, it had like the end of the wire that clips into the harness had never fully seated properly, and so it had just never made a connection. So we pushed it through with a little like dowel and clicked in place, plugged it back in, done, no problems. So I was about due for like an easy solution to something, so I'll definitely take that. Okay, I wondered, you know, like why is the stereo sounds a little bit more quiet than the one that was in my 2016 truck. So that is why. I'll save my review on those speakers for another day. So I know how feedback goes on these videos, and so I know from the last one that a lot of people sort of publicly voiced their opinion that, hey man, this sounds like a lot of problems you're having with a brand new truck. I'm surprised you're happy with it. And I think I have like 2 things to keep in mind. The first is that like maybe my tolerance for stuff breaking or just going poorly, maybe my tolerance or my threshold for like when I think that's a problem is higher than most, or higher than yours, or higher than the vocal minority of people who have that feedback. The other thing to keep in mind is that my commitment to you guys has always been that I'm going to give you like unbiased, completely honest. I'm going to be completely transparent in the input that I give you, or the advice that I give you, or whatever you want to call it. Not professional advice, clearly. So I don't have an agenda here. Like, I'm not paid to do these videos. And I started this channel because I wanted to help out people like me who were looking at these trucks specifically, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. So again, I'm not going to call anyone out directly for lying, but I think that it's important to keep in mind that sometimes people do have an agenda. Sometimes people are being paid for advertisements. I have no interest in going to jail for an undisclosed compensation situation, so no thank you. But there are also people who think that if they have something go negatively with their vehicle, that it's going to somehow reflect negatively on them, or they're going to look like a sucker or whatever. So I think people have, in some cases, motivation to not be completely transparent about things. So I'm just some random guy on the internet, but I just hope that you keep that in mind. So let's talk about everything else. The only modifications are it's leveled. I have a video about that. I have BF Goodrich KO2s. I believe they are 285 65 R20s. So that actually maps out to like 36 or 34.6 or 34.7 inches. So, and they're not, you know, some people call them pizza cutters. I've gotten about 20,000 miles out of them, 25,000 miles out of those, which, anyway, video for another day. Since filming the last video, which you saw pictures of this in the Steens Mountain area, you know, at elevations exceeding 9,000 feet. And since then, I think 2 very distinct areas have sort of tested this truck. The first would be like sub-zero conditions overnight up in the mountains, doing a couple things for work, where, you know, I couldn't plug it in, it was off for extended periods of time, We actually listened to the radio quite a bit because we had a jumper pack in case we needed it. You know, it really had no issues. It doesn't start hard, you know, at 54,000 miles, probably 50,000 miles when we were doing that. Really just ate it up, and I really am a fan of the hill descent control, especially in like snowy trails and things like that, where it was nice to be able to just know that I could let off the gas when I got uncomfortable, and it would slow the truck down at whatever I'd programmed it into. So if you're looking at hill descent control and you're wondering if it's necessary, it's not necessary, but I definitely like it. So sub-zero temps in the Pacific Northwest are not super common, and it might give away a little bit more of my area in case all these landmarks aren't enough. The other thing is that my mom retired after a lengthy career and teaching America's youth, and we recreated a childhood road trip that she took me and my brother on, or my brother and me on, when we were younger. Because it's not my brother and I. She didn't take I on the trip. Anyway, my wife and I took her on this road trip, and we recreated that road trip from, you know, 15 years ago. Oh God. And that road trip began at you know, my house in Clackamas County, rural Clackamas County, Oregon. And first stop was Coalinga, California, at a place called Harris Ranch. Harris Ranch is great. I have nothing but good, great things to say about it. For all you steak fans out there, check it out. We then went to Las Vegas. To be totally honest with you guys, I could go without ever going to Vegas again. It was my least favorite part of the trip, and I probably won't make an effort to go to Vegas moving forward. Just very expensive, and again, least favorite part. And finally, the last part of our trip and the longest part of our trip was in Death Valley. And Death Valley is, as you would probably guess from the name, extraordinarily hot. Here's a map of where Death Valley is. Much of the valley is actually a basin that is below sea level. And as a basin that is below sea level, one of the things I learned about those is that they are excruciatingly hot most of the time. So the daytime highs when we were there were 118 degrees, I think, at most, and it really didn't cool down that much at night. Throughout the valley, anytime you're leaving like the Stovepipe Wells or Furnace Creek areas, like really the tourist heavy areas, there are signs everywhere that say, prevent overheating, turn off air conditioning next 52 miles. That sounds like not fun at all, particularly given the daytime or the ambient temperature. We were doing like 80 miles an hour, the three of us, with all of our stuff in the back or in the bed, doing 80 miles an hour up a hill with the AC on, like full blast, because why not? And it never knew it was there. I mean, I don't think my transmission temperature crested 167 degrees the entire time. I mean, it idled, you know, for a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I also wanted to have this, wherever we went within the valley, I knew that there was a chance that we were going to get, you know, way too hot and need to be able to cool down. And so having like this refrigerator basically to retreat to was just a really great way to experience that. So, I mean, we were all super impressed with how comfortable the truck was, and particularly loaded. It has such a nicer ride than especially empty, but like than I thought it would, where I finally got a bunch of sandbags and put about 500 pounds in the bed, and I've been driving it around like that for the last couple months. And I mean, it really eliminates a lot of the bounciness and just a lot of the sort of unpleasant ride that is inherent to heavy duty trucks, even those with a coil sprung rear end. It was, I mean, clearly, like I've been showing pictures like as we've been going through this, but the only thing I didn't like was the diesel price, which was astronomical. But I mean, it really just, it ate up everything that we could throw at it. I think I averaged 19 miles per gallon on the highway, which again, with bigger tires and a leveling kit and all of us and the AC and whatever. And then not obviously very good mileage idling through a bunch of Death Valley, but it was just an absolutely magical trip, and this was just a great companion to have along the way. And that, having that sense of confidence, particularly given that my mom had a very close call the last time we were in Death Valley, having that confidence to take her back out there really made the trip a lot more enjoyable for me. And I feel so fortunate to have been able to buy one of these trucks. That my first one absolutely saved my life, and to have been able to have a replacement and for it to still be around, of course, but just to have had the experience I've had, I can't recommend this truck enough. So, the Sport Appearance package has held up very impressively. There is absolutely no pitting. There are no chips on my front bumper or grill or the front leading edge of my hood. My black wheels are scrape free. I mean, when this thing is washed, I still have the scratches because, again, there are some hunting trails and stuff like that where this truck goes and scratches happen, and it's a truck. What are you going to do? But with the exception of those, when you wash this thing, and it's not washed, but here you go, here's how I live in it. When you wash this thing, it looks just about as new as it did the day it drove off the showroom floor. I mean, and I know we're coming to the end of this, model year, and you guys have a decision to make about the new 2050 or 2020, I guess it would be, heavy duty. And my brief opinion on that is I like it better than the 1500 for sure, but jumping into the first model year makes me nervous. And take a look at my video about the Nissan Titan if you have any questions about that. So if you're in the market and if you're thinking about pulling the trigger on this body style, well, you still can. I again have nothing bad to say other than what I've outlined. So this has been just the absolute best. I wish everyone could have this experience. I know not everyone has, and I'll keep you posted as things do or don't go wrong. Thanks everyone for hanging in there. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you on the next one.